Hello, good morning, welcome to Liverpool FC Journal, guys. I'm Aaron W. James. This is your morning news update, your match day morning news update, guys. Yes, we're back Saturday, 3 p.m. kickoff at Anfield. Liverpool versus Nottingham Forest this afternoon. It's good to have proper Premier League football back. Good to have football at the highest level in the best league in the world back in action. No more boring international football. We're back, guys. It is great news. Now, look. We did the preview, guys. You want to know, obviously, my thoughts for today's game. Go back and check out the video we released yesterday. It is on the channel homepage. The match preview. Can Liverpool put out the Forest fire? It is on that video tab on the channel homepage. So please check it out, and obviously, please make sure that you hit that sub, ring that notification bell, so you never miss out whenever we release. We are a brand new independent fan channel, bringing you lots of new content daily, lots of updates, getting you involved as well. That's the way we look. Never be a charge. We're not going to charge you for content. We're not going to have pay tiers. So obviously hit that sub. Right, let's talk this interesting news that has come out kind of in response to what Arne Slot said at his press conference yesterday. Now, he was asked in his presser about Mark Gahey directly about signing a centre-back, and, you know, given the reports that there are, given the stories that were going around as regards Mark Gahey, and obviously the fact that Liverpool, I think everyone knows, need a centre-back, which is a bit concerning because obviously that pushes up the value of a player once someone knows that you need something. He was asked directly about this, and this is what he said. This is what Fabrizio Romano reported, which then got Fabrizio talking a little bit more. He said, Arne Slot on potential January transfer signings. We have 3 centre-backs, maybe Gravenberch and Endo as well, obviously referencing Konate, Van Dijk and Gomez, although he did give a worrying update on Gomez, talking about how Joe Gomez has only played 2 lots of 90 minutes in 2025 and is, in his opinion, can't play 7 games in 22 days, which does beg the question that if Gomez can't play regularly, is he a reliable backup? Which, you know, is a big question. He then went on to say this, which kind of got people's tongues wagging and people thinking. Maybe you're not aware of it yet, but we have other positions that we are maybe more of an issue. Now, that is quite interesting. That is quite bizarre. Now, was this in reference to the right back injury crisis that we currently have? The fact that Bradley and Frimpong are out? Was this in reference to the left side attacking talent? You know, the lack of obviously that left sided attacking talent. Was this, a backup to Mo Salah? Because now obviously Mo goes in off to AFCON very soon, and I think the original intention was that Frimpong was going to play on the right when Salah was off at AFCON, but now obviously Frimpong is unlikely to return in the near future. So does this mean that there's definitely a kind of need in those wide positions? Is that kind of what Arne was referencing? So, look, a whole host of different talking points from what Arne Slot said. On the Mark Gahey situation, well, we'll touch on that. And we'll also touch on the Antoine Semenyo situation. Now, this got Fabrizio Romano talking, and got Fabrizio Romano tweeting, and got Fabrizio Romano writing. Obviously, Fabrizio, he's the main man, isn't he? He's the guy who, if you want good transfer news, if you want to know what's going to happen, he is your man to go to. Now, this is what he had to say, and this is obviously reported. This is from Anfield Index and a number of other sources. Basically saying that, look, Liverpool are planning for and are getting ready for this January transfer window. There's a clear planning strategy in place there, kind of what Arne Slot touched on, a little bit about, Richard Hughes and Richard Hughes being ready for this time of year. Fabrizio Romano went on to say that, that basically he expects Liverpool to make a major signing in this window. That was his exact words, a major signing in this window. So far, Richard Hughes has done a very good job as sporting director of this football club. All of his plans, all of his signings seem to be fitting to some sort of strategy or some sort of long-term strategy for the club. Obviously, bringing in 2 new strikers to replace the ones that we lost, to bring in Vietz as possibly the player of the future, the playmaker of the future, the talisman of the future, to replace Salah. Obviously, he brought in Frimpong to obviously replace Trent. He brought in Kirkes as the long-term successor for Andy Robertson. So there's a clear plan in place there. And this means that I think this also kind of links to this whole Antoine Semenyo interest, which seems to still be going about, as well as obviously the Mark Gahey interest. Now, what is interesting is what, what Fabrizio Romano said. He said the clause is going to be valid in January. He said this is for Semenyo. He said, and also the summer transfer window. The value is different for the January transfer window. The value is 60 million plus 5 million in add-ons. For the summer transfer window, it's slightly above 50 million. Bournemouth hope to keep the player, but if a club triggers the clause or tries to negotiate the value of the clause, that can be different, and in that case, Bournemouth would have to let the player go. Manchester United were interested last summer, and Tottenham also called for Semenyo last summer. These two clubs have been following the player for a long time. Liverpool are interested and are keen on a potential deal for Antoine Semenyo. From what I am hearing, Liverpool are considering this possibility. They are following the player and have a very good relationship with Bournemouth. Let's see what is going to happen in the next month. So let's see what is going to happen. There could be another club to add from what I'm hearing. So there could be further interest. Rumours are Arsenal, Manchester City could also be interested. Now, given the fact that Semenyo is a Gooner, this could, of course, complicate the matters. Now, whilst he acknowledges that Liverpool will not rush into any decisions on Antoine Semenyo, Romano does go on to say that he does expect Liverpool to make a major signing in this January transfer window. So, with that in mind, with the fact that Fabrizio Romano is now saying this is a strong likelihood, building on what David Ornstein has already written, two very, very serious guys, two guys that when they speak, you tend to listen to what they say. Is there a strong likelihood that these two players, or one of these two players, at the very least, will arrive in January? I mean, looking, the way it's trending, I think obviously Antoine Semenyo seems to be a very, very strong link for the manager and for the club, and I think would be an excellent signing for the club if he could be brought in. I think, he would certainly fulfill a number of needs that we have, and certainly would perhaps give that give evidence to that statement that Arne Slot made about other positions being of need that the journos perhaps are not as clearly aware of, because they were talking about the centre-back. Luis Diaz obviously departed. It was originally intended that maybe Rio Ngamoa would be that long-term backup to Cody, but obviously that hasn't come to fruition. Maybe Arne has turned around to Richard Hughes and said, look, Rio's a good kid, but he's not the answer. We need someone to come in. In the short term, Semenyo could be used as obviously as cover for Salah. He is both-footed. He can play on both wings, even though he does prefer the left-hand side. I think this is becoming a much stronger possibility, and that comment from Arne Slot today, I think, has got more tongues wagging and more brains churning over. As for Mark Gahey, like I said, there is a lot of reports going around that Liverpool will try in January to bring Mark Gahey. I think that is probably more of an unlikely one if it's of the two, because of the fact that Gahey, I think, has said previously that he does intend to honour his last year of his contract and remain with the club until the end of the season. And he doesn't really favour a mid-season move, obviously, especially with this being a World Cup year. But interesting, though, that Romano is saying that Liverpool are going to make a major move in January. Look, I personally think that if Liverpool could bring in Gahey and Semenyo in January, this would be a major spur and a major kick-on in the tournaments that Liverpool still have an opportunity to win. The Champions League especially, bringing in these two, I think would provide a real kick-on and a real ability for Liverpool to really kick on and challenge for that competition, in my opinion, guys. Look, let me know your thoughts on what Fabrizio's had to say. Let me know your thoughts on what Arne had to say as regards this. Look, I think even though he talks about centre-backs, I think, the fact that we went for Gahey last summer, I think does tell you the club are still very keen to bring in Mark Gahey. And obviously that's building on what has been said in terms of Mark Gahey allegedly saying that he has given his word that he will join Liverpool at some point, either in January or in the summer. We don't know exactly when that will be. Interesting, though, nonetheless. One other story that is doing the rounds as well, which is around Federico Chiesa. Now, we did bring you a video the other day saying that Napoli were very interested in signing Federico Chiesa in the January transfer window on loan with an option to buy, which Liverpool wanted changing to an obligation to buy if they were going to agree to this loan move. However, stories now emerging from Merseyside that Federico Chiesa doesn't want to leave Liverpool in January and wants to stay with the club for at least the rest of the season, which I think is fascinating given the way that he has been underused and perhaps treated, I think, rather shabbily at times by Arne Slot. All credit to that. I think he's the model professional. I think he is very determined to try and prove himself at Liverpool. I think he really does want to break through, show himself to be a player who can make an impact in the Premier League and an impact for Liverpool as well. Personally, I hope he does stay. Personally, I hope he does get more opportunities. I really like Fede. I like his attitude. I like the way he plays the game. Guys, let me know your thoughts on that one as well. Thank you for watching Liverpool FC Journal. If you've enjoyed the content, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. And I will catch you on the next one.